It is Sunday night. That means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. This time, episode 33. We're going to get into it with myself and Austin Scott coming up here right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, and War Eagle to you, Austin, my co-host. Welcome back to another live recording. What's going on?
War Eagle Kyle, happy Sunday night to everyone. Sunday scaries, or maybe not, if you're excited about the work week getting started tomorrow. Been a good week, been a busy weekend for lots of Auburn things and lots of things to talk about. So looking forward to getting all into it on episode 33. There's an easy choice for who that we can name this episode after, Kyle. I'm wondering if you know who I'm talking about.
I'm just going to save it for when we start the show. Yes,
Okay.
there's a clear lookalike, doppelganger, if you will, to someone in the E2C network.
That's right.
Have you ever met that person that I'm referencing? Not
which one are we referencing?
The one that we've met. I mean, you may have. Have you met AJ in person? Have you ever met him?
Yes, that's a story for another time. Pre-E2C Network, I've met AJ.
That's weird.
And story for another time. AJ might not even remember that.
Well, weird connections abound. But yes, if you know what we're talking about, we'll discuss that there. As usual, most of you that are here know the drill. We're going to spend the first 5 minutes or so just kind of getting geared up here. So if you've got questions or comments that you want us to just hit the top here, go ahead and do that. And we'll get started with our live recording in about 4-ish minutes here. Austin will be exiting right at the end of our live recording. So if you've got stuff for him, obviously get that in right now. And I got to admit, Austin, I'm thankful that you're here for 2 weeks in a row. I kind of held my breath there. I was like, well, 1 week back, maybe it was too much for him,
No, it's been good. I'm glad to be back. I was wondering about that earlier today. I was like, is this my second week back or more than that? Time just runs together in the current stage of life I'm in right now. So I just thankful to be here on time and in this room and synced up with you for this recording.
And right now, everything's going fine. Right now, the logistics of everything. Now, if that door swings open behind you and I see one Emily poke her head in, I'm gonna be like, go. Just get out of here. Don't even question it at this point. I will figure out a way to keep the show going with or without you. It's one thing, like we've been saying this for a while now. It's one thing when you're saying these things when there's one kid in the picture, but double trouble makes it even tougher for you. They doing okay?
They're doing really well. They're growing. They're sleeping a good bit and eating a lot, and which means they're doing something else a lot too. So everything's been really good.
Would you like to expound upon what they're
pooping? They're pooping, people.
Listen, if I think boys, they have a tendency for doing that very well. So even if I'm not surprised by that. I know what goes. We just, you know what, Kyle, just shut up. Just stop talking about that.
We're poop champs over here. We know what we're doing.
We are poop champs. I don't know why that made me think of this. Maybe just a little quick fun topic as people get here. There's Devin. Good to see you, Devin. Thanks for hanging out with us. Talking about poop years. This year for Auburn sports feels like it's been somewhat of a down year overall. Would you agree with that sentiment? I think maybe we've talked about this a little bit. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we have discussed down year overall. Probably so. The year's not over, and I think we'll talk about this a little bit. But
yeah,
maybe baseball kind of found their footing to kind of maybe what's the word? Rescue a little bit of the year.
Yeah.
Softball's kind of found their footing too. Like we might end on a high note here. So it's been a down year. I don't think I'd describe it as poop, but I think it's been less than desirable for across the board when you look at really everything. And
the thing too is, most people, they're thinking of the major sports, and I would throw softball in there too with that. But if I know I plug this all the time, but Jessica and I do the Tiger Track show, and this team is something else. I made a certain comment to Jessica. I'm not going to make live. I don't even know why I'm referencing if I'm not going to say it. It's like, shut up, Kyle. But I was like, wow, it really feels like some type of switch was flipped because we're seeing, gold medal. I know it's just for one meet, but we're seeing things happen at a rate that they haven't happened in quite some time there. And so it's kind of like, what was going on? So if you
Yeah.
want to factor that into Auburn's overall year, that maybe even levels out the lack of football success and turmoil it's been through, maybe the underwhelming nature of men's basketball, and then maybe some dull starts to baseball as well, at least SEC wise. But yeah, we're going to talk about the baseball team a lot in this segment, just and kind of assess where we're at because we've reached a critical point in the SEC season,
Very
in the
much
season
so.
as a whole, but in good ways too. So we're going to definitely hit some of that tonight. So it's about 6 minutes in. We're going to go ahead and get started. As a reminder, for those of you that watch live, you can hang out with each other in the chat. Chances are we won't be addressing you guys much, if at all, during that. But please do interact with each other, hang out, and then come back after about 30 minutes here. We'll do 3 10-minute segments roughly. And then I will hang out with you guys and we'll have like a mini Wednesday night show and just take questions throughout the rest of our time together. We're going to hit a little Auburn potpourri, a little bit of everything, the NFL draft and free agency stuff, and then baseball things. Austin, are you ready?
Ready to go, Kyle. Are you ready? Sorry.
Now we got to start doing this.
Yeah.
Count off. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. It encompasses a wide variety of sports, even places, and yes, people. At its core, the Auburn experience is all about its sports, all about its culture, and yes, it's family. And because it is about family, that means I've actually got to have someone here talking with me, another person, another Auburn family member. And once again, 2 weeks in a row after paternity leave, he is back in the saddle, Mr. Austin Sky. What's up, Daddy?
What's up, Kyle? We pull back the curtain a little bit. We joke a lot with Kyle in our E2C group chat about how much we get paid and how much Kyle needs to give us all raises. We don't get paid at all, but we do get paternity leave. So if anybody ever questions the benefits you give E2C Network, we do get paternity leave. Apparently,
I mean, what you get out of that, I don't know what you get out of that paternity leave, but it's there.
I got a couple hours on Sunday nights back there for a little while.
That is true. And here's the other thing too. You can get any kind of leave from E2C that you want. I mean, you can get, I got to go to the bathroom leave. We were talking about this pre-show. I don't know why we're so fascinated with bowel movements right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is just, I can't get off of it tonight. And so I need to find a way to flush it. You see what I did there? Off to a roaring start here. Episode 33. Would you like to remind folks of who, I guess this is brought to you by, episode 33?
Yeah, and our unofficial player sponsor each week, episode 33, brought to you by the fan favorite, the easy pick, and the doppelganger of our friend AJ Richardson, Mr. Will Hastings, is episode 33. Easy, Kyle. There's probably other really great options, but you can't go wrong picking Will Hastings.
Another one that comes to mind, and I believe this was his number, so correct me if I'm wrong. KJ Britt, linebacker, was 33, I think.
Yeah,
if you want to throw that in there too.
Right.
And there's another one I feel like I'm just forgetting and just blanking on. But either way, brought to you by Will Hastings. Not technically, but kind of, sort of. We're just giving this award out, even though they don't know they get it. So yes, episode 33, aka the Will Hastings episode, if you choose to view it that way. Let's hit some Auburn potpourri, just random things around the space before we hit our two bigger topics of NFL draft and Auburn baseball discussions. I'll throw out this sport first, and this news surprised me this week. Monday, it was not the thing I thought. Monday's usually a big news cycle day anyway, but I wasn't expecting this. 28 years, I believe it is, Greg Williams has been at the helm of the Auburn Equestrian program and retired. Out of the blue, personally, for me, I wasn't anticipating it. Now, I think if you go back and look at some things that have happened in terms of how they named the arena and stuff after him, or the facility, I guess I should say, and some other things. You could kind of see us walking towards that, but it felt a little bit early for that to me. Now, just to clarify, he is still going to be with the program as a head coach emeritus, and we'll talk about who's going to replace him in just a second. But your initial reactions, were you surprised by Greg Williams retiring?
I was surprised, initially just at the abruptness, I guess, of it.
Yeah,
But like you said, makes a lot of sense when you look at kind of how the season was going and a little bit more acknowledgement of him than normal. And I mean, the guy's got 5 national championships. It would have been amazing for him to, get that last one over SMU this year, to get a 6th to ride off into the sunset in. But I mean, Greg Williams and his family, they live and breathe horses. They live and breathe equestrian. Uh, I don't think this is necessarily a retire and I'm putting it all behind me, right? Like, I think
right,
we're going to, as we already know, like you said, head coach emeritus, he's going to be around the program, there to consult and there to be the figure. You don't just get rid of someone like that, right, when they retire.
right.
And so I think we'll definitely see and hear from him and his family for a long time to come with Auburn Equestrian, but not in the capacity he has been for the last few years. So really, really shocking initially, but an exciting time. I mean, that I don't really know how the coaching changes in the equestrian world go, but I mean, that's got to be the Auburn job has to be one of the biggest ones out there, I would think.
He is the face of Auburn equestrian, but I would argue he's the face in some aspects of SEC equestrian. And there's only
Oh yeah,
four teams there, but there's been other universities that try to get in the mix there too. I mean, he is one of the faces of that collegiate sport, and so
absolutely.
him leaving leaves a wide gap. Now, Jessica Braswell, who's been a part of the program, is stepping up into that role. And it makes a lot of sense to me. I am not in depth on knowing the ins and outs, politics and such of all these types of decisions for this particular sport. So I'm kind of speaking from ignorance here. But to me, when I look at this outside looking in, even with the shock of losing Greg in the official capacity as head coach, I think it makes a lot of sense, frankly. If you look at, and maybe one day we can we always reference this when we get this official summer, which is very close here, folks. We're going to need lots of things to talk about. Maybe that's one of the things we can take a deeper dive into. We'll add it to the ever growing list of things. Other thing I want to bring up, maybe not sports related, but we are heading right into finals week and graduation coming up, right? It brings up feelings of remembering finals week. Does that make you worried at all, Austin? Just feeling like you didn't study for that certain test?
No, not too worried. No, I was always worried. I was never the relaxed type. It does bring back memories of, even though maybe I needed sleep more than anything, I did want to wait up to get my free orange juice, my free donuts in the student center or the library. Brings up a lot of good memories of just everybody cramming together during, up before finals week and during finals week for whatever they had left. And, those are good memories I have of, I couldn't tell you what material I was studying, couldn't tell you what the test I was really worried about. Honestly, couldn't tell you what I made on the final, but really remember staying up with friends
Yeah.
and just cramming late nights, being together right before, break, right before the big summer break. And as much as you wanted to get through finals, you just didn't want the semester to end. So good memories, bittersweet memories, especially of this one for a lot of seniors and graduation coming up.
Well, and that's the thing too. I said this to many people. I actually enjoyed finals week. It was tough, so there's that part of it too. But there was always this challenge of did you actually learn? Maybe I'm just a nerd.
Right.
I don't know. Learn and retain what you were supposed to for these things. And when I got to my senior year, I was actually enjoying what I was learning about. So that made it even kind of, I know it sounds weird, but enjoyable. But I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the way the university and the town, they do this not just for finals and stuff, but they all kind of recognize there's a need to kind of provide things and get involved in this week. So you've got I'm not saying that there was free parking in places, but offering free donuts or coffee or something like that, because they knew students were just trying to survive. this week and the weekend and week leading up to it. So to me, whether it was hanging out with people at student unions or things like that, going to make a map of where all the free pizza was, that's what I remember about finals week to me. And I do wake up in a cold sweat every so often still that I was in some math class and forgot to study for it. Do you have that ever?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've got I had a very, very real possibility of missing a final because I overslept and quite literally sprinted from my bedroom to the the teacher had told us if you're not in here by,
you're not getting in.
I'm locking that door. That's
I
it.
saw students out there once, like with that situation, like just too bad, so sad.
Yes, I'm telling you that happened to me. I'm sprinting and I get in there past time. Teacher walks in, says, "I'm so sorry. There was traffic. There was a wreck on Glen, and I could not get here in time." And I said, "The Lord has looked down on me today and has given me a second chance."
His face upon you.
Yes. So I've lived that nightmare, Kyle.
Oh, man. That's the nightmare that well, I guess it hasn't happened to me as of late, but for some reason it's always a math class and it's always in Parker Hall. And so that's where, I think it's still, that one's still around, right? Not the
Kyle, that's the one I've said they could pay for a new building if they just raffled off tickets of who gets to press the button to implode it.
Now, look, I got fond memories of Parker Hall.
Oh,
so
no,
just,
no. I'd put up 100 tickets to be the one to press the button.
Well, before we advocate for any more destruction of state property, one other little potpourri note. The transfer portal is starting to move in a direction. It feels like we might have a lot of news this week, even if it's just one news item. We are not going to be talking a lot about that this episode. In fact, while we're doing this, who knows, something may happen. We've talked about and joked pre-show. We kind of hope it happens during the middle of a show so we can just react to it live. But we anticipate discussing that more. Anything of interest that you're really looking out for this week, though, in terms of transfer portal stuff?
I mean, today's the last day, right, for students to enter the spring portal window. Doesn't mean they have to decide by the end of the day. Today's the last day. You got to get in. Yep. And so we saw a couple from Auburn get in today.
Yep.
I'd be interested to see if we hear of any more here in the next, I guess, 3 to 4 hours. But obviously now is when everybody just looks toward the decisions being made and the visits being made. Both basketball and football have a lot to look at here coming up soon, and hopefully some decisions that really help Auburn. Obviously, we all want to see if a quarterback gets in there and decides to come to Auburn that could help this team next year in the competition room and also possibly on the field. So like you said, we'll have plenty to talk about a week from now, hopefully with plenty of people who have made their decisions to come to Auburn.
Yeah, what's been interesting to me is seeing everybody over the last 2 days really make their decisions to get in there, and we'll see if they stay there, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's just so much at play right now. We felt like it was good to just sit on it for a week. It's Sunday night, when the portal is closing, and we'll obviously, like you said, in a week's time, have at least some concrete idea of where it's heading, if not some finality to a lot of those decisions. But right now, let's move into talking about a big topic from this weekend. One that we look forward to every year because not only do we love our Auburn football players when they are here, we as the family celebrate them, follow them, flock to them wherever they go, even most of the time. Well, some people probably would disagree with me here. If it's a professional team, if they head there, you can't stand. For me, I don't latch on to many professional teams outside of really the Braves. But professional football, that's really the case for me. I just follow my players where they go and I'm rooting for them. And that's really how I decide. So the NFL draft is always kind of a repositioning for me. Where am I, who do I need to be focusing on? And the Auburn Tigers had several names entering the draft this year. I'll run a list for you real quick. I think this is the complete list I had from Auburn. Derek Hall, Tank Bigsby, Owen Papo, Colby Wooden, Shedrick Jackson, John Samuel Shanker, Iku Leota, Anders Carlson, Marcus Bragg, Killian Zaire, Brandon Council, Marquise Burks, Morris Joseph, and Kalen Newton, who technically was not, here this year, but was here previously. And obviously he's the brother of Cam Newton. So all that plays into there. We count him in this list. As of the recording of this episode, I believe we are sitting around 10 or so people that have either been drafted or found a home in terms of free agency. Still much more to go, I'm sure, and others will find opportunities outside of the NFL too. But let's focus this segment in on the NFL draft, and we'll start with our draftees. A really good group. I think there was one that maybe surprised me swapping in and out, but your draftees this year, not surprising really. Derek Hall, Tank Bigsby, Owen Peppo, Colby Wooden, and Anders Carlson. So, your initial thoughts, Austin, about the NFL Draft 2023 for our Auburn guys?
Yeah, love seeing it. Love seeing our guys get drafted and picked at the next level. Always fun to see what fits they have and where they end up. Love watching all the videos of Auburn and others get the guys getting the call, and having some dreams come true. And so, really thought it was really cool. The Derek Hall, obviously the first Tiger to come off the board and go into Seattle. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Yeah.
Super excited about that. I absolutely love Tank Bigsby going to Jacksonville. I think that is going to be super, super, super good fit for him. One of my best friends, Jacob Coley, is already planning on how to get that jersey. I know it. Our good friend Clint Richardson, a big Jaguars guy, couldn't be happier. I think that is a really good fit for Tank. I think he is going to be really successful. And a skill position player like that is someone, we've got Darius Slayton, but I think Auburn fans are really going to like if Tank Bigsby can make a name for himself in Jacksonville. I think we'll see a good following of that team. And then, like you mentioned, Anders Carlson getting drafted to the Packers. We have another Carlson brother who's going to try and make his name as a kicker. I think Anders could definitely break in up there in Green Bay. They've got a great kicker, but he's aging, so I think it could be fun for him. And so Anders will get to torment in the same division the Minnesota Vikings, who cut his older brother. So I'm all for that. If I can get Anders Carlson to beat the Minnesota Vikings for his brother, it was all worth it.
Oh, Austin, I had forgot all about that. That is beautiful. So Mason Crosby is still their kicker, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
okay,
I
and
believe so.
He's been around for a minute. So that's kind of what I thought too. I'll be honest with you. I'd even done a video here on the YouTube for E2C Network, kind of giving my thoughts about who would and wouldn't get drafted. I had substituted him for Leota just because of the injury stuff that he's been through. I didn't know what the kicker priorities for a lot of the guys. And that's not me thinking he couldn't get drafted. I was just trying to take a best guess. So I was really pleasantly surprised to see that happen. I do have an affinity towards the Green Bay Packers. I've got family in Wisconsin, and I did grow up somewhat of a Packers fan. So that makes me happy. And I like the situation for him. I like the fact that he's going to get to grow up under a veteran and get himself completely right to the, professional, obviously different uprights, different schemes and strategies about when and how they utilize kicking in a professional league. So that was a big surprise for me. You brought up the Tank situation. I'll just be honest with you. That second night of the draft, I'm sitting there on the couch and I look up and something just told me I saw Jacksonville on the board. I had no inkling. I wasn't on Twitter, nothing. I said, they're about to take Tank. And Jessica, she's sitting next to me, even looks up and watches too. And Tank comes across the board. I had no clue. Like there was something about that situation. And I know very little about the NFL, but just enough to be deadly that felt right. Do you think this could be a good fit for him?
Oh, I really do. I think they obviously have Travis Etienne with Trevor Lawrence down there on a young offense, but Travis Etienne has a lot of the speed. I think Tank can be a lot of that power and inside the tackle back for them with a good 1-2 punch. I think that is a really, really, really good spot for him. I really like it. I think he's going to really thrive in that situation down there. He stays in the Southeast near family with being from Georgia. I really like that situation. I think that might be one of the best situations for an Auburn guy in this draft. You also mentioned Leota, who it really surprised me that he didn't get picked up. I really thought he would go kind of later toward the end of the draft, but it ended up not going, but found a really good spot in Carolina. I think he's going to have a really good chance to make it from that undrafted free agency class and have a really good shot to show out on the team, or show out where he can get a spot somewhere else. So
Yeah.
that he was who I was surprised by. And I think you have a list of the rest of the undrafted
Yeah.
free agents.
Well, and just a reminder, because I don't think we mentioned where they went yet. Owen Papo went to the Cardinals.
Yes.
Colby Winnan also went to the Packers. The Packers are trying to make me happier because they, in my opinion, they drafted way too many Alabama players the last few years. I mean, I understand I'm being petty, but yeah, I am what I am, and I is what I is. But John Samuel Shanker to the Raiders. Shedrick Jackson is staying a Tiger as a member of the Bengals. Killian, these two were this morning too, early on Sunday morning. Killian Zaire going to the Texans, and then Brandon Council to the Jets. So in my eyes, these were the ones that I thought all had a chance to maybe get drafted. Most of those at the back half, probably not, but maybe there's an outside chance. But we're at least going to get picked up early, and we're really just waiting on those last few that entered themselves into the draft to be eligible to get jobs. But outside of those other names, Austin, or those last few names that we haven't talked about, who else sticks out to you in their location?
Well, that's a good question. John Samuel Shanker, probably. They, as a tight end, record-setting tight end at Auburn.
Yep.
They lost Darren Waller this year, traded him away, so there's a tight end spot open there. I think it'd be hard for him to kind of take over that spot, but there's opportunity for growth, and opportunity to be able to show what he's got in a where everybody's kind of even at this point. Everybody's fighting for that spot. So I like that for him. The other guys, it's hard to project with Zaire and Council on the offensive line. Right. You hope that those guys can show enough to be depth pieces, maybe. And then Shed, that's a crowded wide receiver room in Cincinnati, but good guys to learn from. So I hope that is a learning experience for him that benefits him too.
Well, and Shed too, we know he had a great pro day and showed that the athleticism is there. He's shown that during his time here, but his pro day especially showed that. So my hope for him is, even if he is in a crowded room, that he can find himself in a good situation where he, does enough to remain part of the team. And then you never know what happens. There's injuries all the time. You never know how you might slide in, find a role on special teams, things like that. And before you know it, you're out there catching a pass. I mean, Darius Slayton, a lot of people thought was underutilized, and you look at what's happening with him at the New York Giants. Is he wide receiver number one? He may not even have a role change this year. I don't know, but he's still continued to be a prominent member of that receiver corps after having no one hardly look at him going into this thing. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say Shed is going to do the same thing, but it wouldn't surprise me if he does. The only other thing that I find interesting here, Aaron Rodgers moved it over to the Jets, and Brandon Council has a chance to block for him. So I don't know how I feel about that, being somewhat of an affinity toward the Packers fans.
Sure. And you touched on it too, Kyle, that we talked about the NFL, but there's also now all these other opportunities that have, become very real opportunities to play football, pro football in the United States now, with the USFL, the XFL. And so with a lot of these guys who are undrafted free agents and are going to get to go through camp, they might not let's say, it might not work out for them to make the cut of a team, an NFL team. They only can take, 53 at one point. You might be on the wrong side of that line, but working hard enough to make sure you can have a good reference of those teams to make one of these maybe quote unquote lesser teams and work your way back up and find playing time is key. So I have no doubt our guys will take advantage of the opportunities they've been given and do their best. And I can't wait to follow all their journeys.
And if I could get a prediction from you on who we're talking about the most when we come around to the NFL draft next year, out of these guys that were drafted, found, or free agency homes, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Give me one name.
I'm gonna say Tank. I'm a big believer in Tank down in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Of course, Derek Hall obviously would be the easy betting money, just because we know the talent he is and the individual he seems to be. You think that's going to be a good meshing point for him when it comes to finding a legitimate spot on a team and finding contributing time. So I think there's a lot of good options, but Tank may be the best. We'll call it dark horse, but one to really watch for. And maybe we're talking about a year from now. Let's talk about some baseball, though, in our final segment. It feels appropriate. It's been maybe a few weeks since we or another special guest have kind of assessed where we're at with baseball. I think since that last time, maybe it was Clint and I who talked about it while you were gone. We had entered kind of a period where probably a downswing, especially in SEC play, where things were looking kind of bleak. Joseph Gonzalez was still um, unsure if he was going to make it back. And then even during that time, he looked like he might make a swing back into being able to into the pitching rotation. And now that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. The story is for Auburn, they can score a lot, but they also sometimes will allow a lot. But what I continue to remind folks, if you think Auburn baseball is ever out of a game, you are wrong. You must, I shouldn't say must, you should stay in your seats. You should stay tuned in, radio, TV, otherwise, because offensively, this team will give the pitching staff usually whatever they need to win the game. So we're sitting at about, I guess, 2/3 in SEC play. Just won a big series over South Carolina in games 1 and 2. Went to South Carolina, put it to them, nearly won and came back and won the game today too. I will take it in the place that they were sitting at. How are you feeling about this baseball team right now?
Oh, I'm pumped. I think a lot of people have a renewed energy about the team. You know, we got the news this week. You mentioned Joseph Gonzalez. He is now out for the season, will not be returning this year. A big hit to an already struggling pitching staff. And so after that news, you know, you've got South Carolina this week, a top 3 team, and LSU comes to Plainsman Park next week, a top overall team. And things are looking rough for the postseason ballot of this team. Then what do? They respond on Friday and go up there and win. And then they get another win on Saturday. And like you said, had a chance, many chances to win it today. In Columbia, a team in South Carolina who'd only lost 1 home game before this weekend, and Auburn goes up there and gets 2 out of them. And so they just don't quit. And they're a Butch Thompson team who he knows what it takes. He knows how to fire his guys up and get them ready at this point in the season. And that's exactly what they did. So I am excited for them to continue this momentum. I really hope that next week with LSU, they take advantage of another opportunity. It's going to be a great crowd on graduation weekend. There's going to be plenty of people there at all 3 games. I'm going Saturday night at 8 o'clock. I'm like shocked. It's at 8 p.m. At 8 o'clock with a bunch of friends. And I think that this is a turning point. We talked a lot about this in basketball season, in SEC basketball season, how at some point this team has to turn the corner. At some point, it's got to click, and it's now or never. We were getting to that point with Auburn baseball, and it looks like things are clicking and they're turning it on. The pitching's doing just enough, and the bats are staying hot. Cooper McMurray, Nate LaRue had a great weekend.
I know.
And Bryson Ware, obviously, and Bobby Pierce, obviously, all continue to do their thing. So there are offensive pieces on this team that can carry this team despite pitching. And if pitching can just do enough, that we might can see a special little run here. But it was good to see that from Auburn, and good to see that the type of performance they gave in Columbia this weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked a lot about other commentators, even the team, were a lot of the language around. We need to just get 1 game out of this series. Like gotta have that 1 game, and it's almost like that focus, I think, on that 1 game just really drove them to that first one. They know Tommy Vale gives them the best start as of late in that Friday matchup, and has continued to do so. So take advantage of that. Put yourself in a good position going forward, especially when you're facing this SEC schedule. I mean, the baseball SEC is just from top to bottom loaded up, it seems like. Anybody can beat anybody too on any given Saturday, Sunday, whatever you want to say. It seems like, because Auburn just went to South Carolina and put it to them in the first 2 games. It took South Carolina to the bottom of the 7th today, I believe, to get a lead. And they nearly lost it again. Bobby Barrows came up, knocks in a home run in the bottom of the 9th, and they had somebody else on base, and some mishaps happened. But that's just the way it goes. So this team has great offense. I would argue also has a very underappreciated defense as well, especially in that outfield. Case and Howell, Bobby will just throw you out from anywhere. So the pieces are there. We all understand even the players understand that the pitching struggle has been there. Do you think this is the turning point? Are we turning the corner, or is this just one of those fluky weekends where everything fell into place?
No, I think it's a turn. I mean, when you put up that many runs, it's not fluky. When you put up that many runs in 3 games, it's not fluky,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So I think that this is a good turning point when you face a South Carolina staff like that, pitching staff that like that, and you put up that many runs. You're seeing the ball well. You're feeling confident. You're going to have to do it again in back-to-back weekends with more LSU or more pitchers that are of that caliber in
Oh,
LSU, but this winning this series, Auburn's RPI jumped way high. Like this was big to get into the postseason and solidify one of those, 2 or 3 seeds in a regional where you can really do some damage. So
yeah.
go get one, at least one this weekend. Find a way to get two. Auburn baseball is going to be feeling really good as we enter the back half of this regular season.
Yeah, I obviously think, and I know some people would say this sounds like a defeatist attitude, just get the one. But really, that's kind of where Auburn is, just because of the situation. They've got to really put the energy into getting that one win, and then
Right.
take advantage of whether opportunities present themselves, like they did in Columbia. You're going to be at home on a big weekend. Like you said, you're going to be there. A lot of people are coming to town. It's going to be graduation weekend. Softball is in town for their
Yep.
final SEC match series of the season. So this is a good weekend to be in Auburn. I don't have any plans to be there right now, but something may just, you never know, draw me over there, because it feels like this is going to be one of those random spring weekends that happen from time to time in Auburn. Out once spring football's done, the draft done, but they just kind of come around at the right time, where if you're not on campus, you're missing out on something. And again, you continue to make me jealous that you live there.
Look, it's a perk. I'm excited to be going. I mentioned Jacob earlier. We're doing his bachelor weekend. He was like, I want to come to Auburn LSU. So we're going for his bachelor weekend to Auburn LSU on Saturday night. And thank goodness we had this weekend to kind of get some good momentum. I think we're going to have a great atmosphere at Plainsman Park this weekend. I'm excited. I'm really excited about a big time atmosphere, SEC atmosphere this weekend.
So what I'm
And
hearing is if we lose, it's y'all's fault.
no, but yes. It would not surprise me if it gets blamed on me, and would not be the first time.
Are you going to be wearing the correct jersey this time?
I have to check my family tree. I don't think I have any Cajuns in it, and so yeah.
What is the other? You did something else this week. I was going to get on to you about. What was it? Oh, you were.
There's no telling.
Oh no, hold on. Sorry, I know this is a baseball related. You, sir, we should have talked about this during the NFL draft. We're celebrating.
I'm a Carolina Panther fan.
I don't care. I don't care. What are you celebrating?
I was so excited about Eculiota joining the Panthers.
Yes, you were.
Is what you're talking about.
You know what I was talking about, and you know what I was. I literally.
We have a new quarterback, Kyle. We have a new quarterback, and doesn't matter where he went to school. We have a new quarterback for the Panthers, and we're very excited about it. And he was happily endorsed by our former quarterback, Cam Newton.
I'll leave it at that. You all use your imagination about what Austin was celebrating in the NFL draft. But anyway, back to wrapping up baseball here. Go support them this week if you can. If you can come in town, softball too. A lot of good things happening. And of course, it's a graduation weekend. So we are in the meat of the diamond sports right now. We're going to start to get into some really fun stuff for both teams and talking about that a lot over the next few weeks, episodes probably. So we look forward to catching up with you guys more about that in the future. As we head out, we want to remind you where you can find us, obviously on social media. You can find me on Twitter at KyleLoomis24. Austin, where can they find you for some discussions and cute pictures of little baby boys that just came into your life?
Austin G. Scott for all the boys pictures. Instagram and Twitter is Austin G. Scott.
We'll have to again, we got to figure out what the segment name is going to be for updates on like I was going to say double trouble or something like that,
right?
For your twins, and give us updates, the latest Auburn twinsy outfit that they're wearing or something like that.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys tuning in to episode 33 of the Auburn Experience podcast. Hope to see you next time. Until we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging around for this episode. Let me get this thing off here. Austin, thanks for hanging out with us again. 2 weeks in a row. It's a good streak to start with.
Yes. Thank you, Kyle, for having me. And I was going to tell you, we were talking pre-show. There's a lot of other coaches have joined in on what we were talking about, I think, before we went live on some mysterious tweeting. So it didn't happen during our recording, unfortunately.
So, but something has officially happened?
I don't think so, but I think
Okay.
everybody's alluding to something. So
Well, tomorrow
I
we'll
was
probably
really
find
hoping it would happen during our recording. I just want to have we need and here's what I need you to work on is like an alarm, like a siren for if something happens. And I
Yeah.
can just like alert you. I like blink twice.
What about this?
And
Squirrel. That,
oh, it might need to be a little more alarming. We need like a commitment siren for, and no matter what we're talking about, you can hit it and goes wee wee wee, and then we stop everything. I think that'd be great.
I might just clip that right there, and it be it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what we need.
And I just got my clip I needed for this week. Thank you. All right, buddy, go get some rest, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, guys, thank you all so much for sticking around. Those of you that can and want to, for hanging out with just little old me. This now shifts into just an informal time to hang out, talk, ask questions. We won't be taking phone calls tonight, but we will talk about some of the things that you want to talk about. So if you've got things about what we talked about, things that we didn't mention, post them right now, and we'll get into that. Let me go ahead and do this. I want to switch it up a little bit and give you a reminder for those of you that are still alive around, or you're live right now, what you can do to keep up with what we've got going on this week on E2C Network. Always stay tuned because we've got videos coming out all the time for you guys and podcast episodes. But the regular schedule for this week, this Tuesday, there is no midweek baseball game, but we will still do a live stream. We're going to do that at 8 p.m. Eastern time. In fact, if you stay at the end of this stream, you'll be taken to a link right over there, and you can go and hit the like button, the notify me bell, and be part of that stream. 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about the South Carolina game in depth, the LSU game coming up, and a little bit more of that. And then look forward to Auburn Family Night back at its regular time this week, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday night. So don't miss that. So we'll cover all that again. I just want to go ahead and throw that out there at the beginning of our open question session here. To what are y'all referring? Transfer portal stuff? Yes, I think there's a lot that's going to be happening this week, whether it's in Auburn's favor or not. The window is closing within the next few hours, as Austin talked about during the show here. And so their window is closing for people to enter the portal. So there will be a lot of decisions already made moving forward, whether it's quarterback, basketball. Let me say this to you too, folks. If you're not paying attention to what women's basketball is doing, apparently they're putting together quite the transfer class, stealing players from Alabama, everything. Oklahoma State players coming in. I'm really intrigued about what's going to happen with them this season. They've got my antennas pointed in their direction for good reason. Y'all better be paying attention to that. Thank you for the kind words, Devin. We appreciate you. We are always glad to hear when people enjoy what we do here, because it helps us keep doing that. I don't know if you're listening to Andy and Brad in the game today, but man, they're hilarious. Andy was chirping back at the things the South Carolina fans were saying. Those fans were pretty annoying. I've heard as much about South Carolina baseball fans. Here's what I feel like is happening with Andy, and I know Andy well enough to where I'm not a stranger to him, but we're not like best friends. But I feel like I'd say this and he'd understand and maybe agree with it some. With his time spent with Sonny at with Auburn basketball, I feel like he is starting to kind of take on some of the traits of Sonny in baseball, which is hilarious. You know, that's just funny to think about. But yeah, I do enjoy them. I think they're a great tandem, especially in baseball. It feels like, they may move into they'll move into maybe a basketball role someday I don't know how that's going to work, but personally, I feel like they would do well together in basketball as well. What do you think about Landon King deciding to transfer again? How to walk around this. I don't mean this rudely, but I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised that he made that decision. Yeah, I mean, I don't fault any player for taking advantage of the opportunities before them, but it also does make me question your loyalty when you do it twice now. yeah, and again, it's a kind of a double-edged sword there. I don't want to fault them, but I also don't want to. I don't know. It's a weird situation for me because I always want to be supportive of our guys until they're officially not our guys anymore, and of course they can come back. So I don't want to say anything that I shouldn't until that is finalized. I wish Landon King well. I just wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come back. Good to see you, WT. Thanks for hanging out. What else is on you guys' mind? I'll go back and look at some of the questions in the chat for when we were recording. What else is on y'all's minds? Quick plug. If you guys are not following us on Facebook, if you're not following us on Instagram, we could really use your help. We are getting close to 2 big milestones on each of those. Check that out. It's, there is a similar content, a lot of this that you'll see on our other social media accounts, but there's sometimes some different things there. So whether it's here, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, it's in your best interest to follow all of it if you can. Could we use the intentional walk more and then throw more strikes to set up double plays, Cliff? I don't know exactly what you're getting at with that. I'm missing the context there. So if you'd like for me to answer that a little better, give me some context on what you're asking. You're asking about Auburn specifically or what? Devin said her husband is a huge Seahawks fan. Now I have more of a reason to cheer for them. Yeah. Like I said during the show, I don't spend a lot of time investing in a particular team, but I spend a lot of time investing in, particular players. Now, it's very easy to jump on board to a team that has an Auburn running back that they use a lot, or an Auburn, the skill players, right? The ones that you see most prominently, the ones that you see always focused on in fantasy football. So I would say I was as close as I could be to being a Panthers fan as you could without actually being a Panthers fan when Cam was there. He left. I was like, there's still some players there. Derek Brown I like. I can't really pull for the Patriots, so that one really hurt me when Cam was there, and Jarrett Stidham was there. But yeah, I will pull for our guys. Have we talked about Buc-ee's yet? No, we have not. We actually made it an entire show without mentioning Buc-ee's, but we're not done with that. Trust me. Somehow. WT, you should have been here during the live recording. Where were you, my friend? Or maybe you were there. I just didn't see you. Apparently, the pitch clock was mismanaged this weekend a lot. What is your opinion on the addition of the pitch clock? Mismanaged by the refs or us? Or South Carolina? What are you referring to? From what I know and understand about all these rules, their heart behind them is to speed the game up in a society, in a audience that is continually becoming more and more harder to hang on to. So I understand the reasoning, but I also think that we tend to do too much reactionary stuff in society as a whole, but also in decisions we tend to make these days. This feels like that to me, this whole pitch clock thing. Does it speed the game up? Sure. But sometimes it feels like they go review things for too long now to make up for that. I don't know. I'm a crotchety old man sometimes. I hate change. So probably I'm just going to not be super excited about that. They were starting it way too early. Were they doing it specifically to Auburn? Well, whenever you involve humans, there's always going to be problems. It's just the way it is. I don't care what school they come from. I just want great players for my lifelong NFL team, the Dolphins. See, and that's why I can't be an NFL fan or like a true NFL fan, because I got too much Auburn in me. I promise I do. I got a text from my cousin. Shout out if you're watching. Asking me today, because he's a huge Packers fan. Was raised just like I was to be a Packers fan, and asked me, have you forgiven, has like moments like this weekend with Colby and Anders getting picked up by the Packers, does that make up for the years of them drafting a bunch of Alabama players. And I said it helps, but it still hurts. I'm petty. I know. I just prefer to follow my players and hope that there's not too many Alabama players in there that can shine with them. I want the shine only to be on our guys. In that dynamic, the Auburn-Alabama dynamic. He came in late watching the Boston Bruins get bounced from the playoffs. I'm sorry. Not a big NHL fan. If you didn't know, you need to be following the Auburn Ice Hockey Club team. I think they went to the finals and lost in the finals. Had a great year. So if you're a hockey fan, there's a reason to follow Auburn stuff too. Dusty and I, you guys know him. We haven't seen him a lot lately. I know he's been super busy, but he's a big hockey guy too. And so I know he follows that club team. The pitch clock talk here. It only seemed to happen to Auburn. At least that is the only time Andy would mention it. That's why South Carolina coach got kicked out. I missed that he got kicked out. But it's not the first time we've seen some home cooking from refs, from otherwise. I'm sure it happens at Auburn too. It seems to happen the other way. So, yeah, look. Desperate teams will do desperate things. Or I should say, desperate people do desperate things. When you are the high and mighty South Carolina Gamecocks getting bounced in the first two games, you might conveniently use the rules to your advantage to the best of your ability over the letter of the law, so to speak. I don't know. I wasn't watching during that part of the game. In fact, I will be honest with you guys. A lot of games this season, minus maybe the midweek games and Friday games. Either way, I have not been able to stay tuned for a lot of the games fully this year. And it feels like whenever I finally do get some time to sit down and check in where we're at and watch live on TV, we end up giving up a home run. We end up giving up the lead. So I feel like I'm bad luck. So I'm sorry. In fact, when I tuned in today, they gave up that 3-run bomb to give up the lead. So you're welcome. He was complaining about the pitch clock, had to run out, but the pitch clock run out, but we got a strikeout. Coach got thrown out real quick. Well, yeah. Maybe he wanted to fire his team up to salvage a win. Maybe that's all that was about. A lot more Auburn football players, I'm guessing you're saying, got drafted than I thought would. You have to like that. It was right about what I thought it would be, WT. I think on my video, I predicted 4 with possible 5th one. Yeah, I think I said 4. So I underestimated it a little bit too, but I wasn't shocked that 5 went into the draft. I was shocked that Iku didn't get drafted and Anders did. I thought that would have been flip-flopped a little bit, just because, kickers, they don't get drafted a ton, but they do get drafted sometimes. So that speaks to Anders. There I go, underestimating Anders Carlson. I know better than that. All right. What else do you guys have on your minds tonight? Let's start wrapping up here. We'll probably cut just a few minutes short. I know it's 10 o'clock, but we started a little bit late. So if you got last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, get them in right now. As a reminder, I mentioned earlier, please stay tuned right after the stream here if you're watching live, or you can do this on the replay too. It should take you directly over to what to watch next page, and it should be our live stream for the midweek chat for Auburn baseball stuff. That'll be 8 p.m. this Tuesday. Don't miss it. Wednesday show at 8 p.m. as well. Auburn Family live stream where you can call in. We'll talk about anything that you want to discuss. Make sure you're subscribed if you have not to be part of a giveaway. You can be a channel member. You can be a Booster Club member. Both those things start at $1 a month. You could also check out all the other links in the description for ways you can help support us here at E2C Network. It is much appreciated for those that can in some way. You can even buy the t-shirts down below in our store here on YouTube. You can see them. But all those things are available. You don't have to. We appreciate those of you that can. We just ask that you be here, drop a comment on a video, watch the video, smash the like button, and so on and so forth. What else is going on here? You didn't see that Anders did I already address this? I think I did. But him getting drafted was a little bit of I would say a shock, but it was a nice surprise. You mostly listen to Andy and Brad and follow along on the app. It's pretty weird that I have access to the TV when the games are on. I would imagine you guys being out in Texas, although you will be in SEC country not too far off here with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. Technically, it's invading. So you'll have access to all of that, I'm sure, pretty soon here. How about softball's first SEC no-hitter since 26? Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Can I be honest? And I thought it had already happened once this season. I was pretty shocked by that. I know they threw a no-hitter, but I thought it had already happened in SEC play. There was about 2-3 seasons ago where people were really starting to question whether Mickey Dean was going to survive here at Auburn. And I mean, I personally continue to preach patience, and it seems like we're heading there. It's a long way to go, but I think we've got that program right where we need it to be under Mickey Dean, and I'm very, very, very happy about that. All right, like I said, we're going to cut it off a few minutes early here. I hope to see you guys live on Tuesday. I hope to see you live on Wednesday, both or one of the two. I would love to catch up with you guys any chance we get, and make sure you stay tuned for the videos all throughout the week, the live streams, social media, all those good things. We appreciate you being here, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And until we get a chance to talk to you again on the next live stream, or the next Auburn Experience live recording, I'll talk to you guys then. War Eagle.